Hello, you lovely lot. This is our first video for our Saturday, the 14th of September sale here at Manor Park Classics. Now, there's been a bit of a change, and it's all down to you lovely people buying lots of classic cars and bikes because we've got a two-day sale. So Saturday is our classic cars, Sunday is our classic bikes. So if you're watching online or visiting in person, come on the Saturday for this kind of thing, come on Sunday for this kind of thing. Whichever it is, and that's literally thank you to you. Can't thank you enough. You wonderful people out there all over the world have been buying so many we physically can't fit them in one day. So our heartfelt thanks to you. And let's go steaming in. Don't forget to like and subscribe, because if you do, you'll get these on Wednesday night, which means you've got 2 full days to have a look, which means you can ring the insurer, speak to the other half, measure the garage, all of that kind of stuff, so that when you bid in confidence. And I think you could bid in confidence on this. What a belter. I do love a Supersport. It's like a much rarer XR2. And of course you get, this is the first hot Ford, isn't it? This is where they worked out the sticking arches and spoilers on a basically slow product. Let's be honest, it's a 1300 Fiesta. Makes it incredibly desirable and very, very valuable. But this one could be the bargain of the sale, because if you look, she's a left hooker. And I am struggling to fault this. I actually love left-hand drive cars because they represent a huge value for money. They generally come from better climates, so they are better shells. And also when you come to get rid, as you'll probably see on Saturday, people will bid from all over the world and all over Europe in markets that love left-hand drive cars, which is all of mainland Europe. This is great. It's got phenomenal paint, but you will spend, I think, probably the thick end of 10 grand less buying this as a left hooker than you would if it was right-hand drive. And the good news is our lovely vendor is including all the parts should you wish to convert to right-hand drive. So a dash, a steering rack, all of that. I'd leave it as it is. But if you want to go down that road and probably bolt in about 10 grand's worth of value, you can. Have a look in there. Beautiful interior, stunning paint. It's as good underneath as it is on top, and it is very good on top. Really nice spec. It's never had an MOT advisory since it came here in 2018. Full set of Yokohamas. It's clean, it's clean. We've sold a few of these. This is, I did one on the show with Drew, and I think we got about 27 for ours because it was this nice, but right-hand drive. But you could buy this for 15 to 17. Left-hand drive with right-hand drive bits. Why would you not want that? Just super, super clean. As nice and shiny as it looks on telly, it is in real life. You know me, I try and find a bleb or a split or something to help you out. This doesn't have any. The only thing you could possibly fault it on, if you are so inclined, is that the steering wheel is on the wrong side. To me, it doesn't matter. Just get it bought, save the 10 grand. Other epic fast forwards. Let's talk about a car that has been so lovingly looked after that it defies its mileage. You look at this and you think, has it done 40,000, 50,000? The clock is showing 54,000, but let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that's 154,000. It's beautiful, this car, absolutely stunning, has a stack of paperwork, has been known by our vendor for 25 years, and I would say has been maintained regardless of expense. So do not be put off by the mileage. The car looks, drives and presents like a car with 30,000 miles on. I mean, look at the seat bolsters. Everybody knows about Ford seat bolsters. These have been retensioned, desagged, are now stunning. Even the wheel, nothing looks too shiny, too worn. We know that car has gone around the clock simply by the paperwork. I defy anybody to inspect it and to have worked that out. It's incredible, absolutely incredible. Beautifully presented car. Everywhere you look is really nice, needs nothing. And again, because of the mileage, it's gonna be that little bit cheaper. 15, 17 grand. That's the beauty of a higher mileage car. When we say high mileage, 154,000 since the 80s, it's not higher mileage, it's just higher mileage compared to some of the crazy low mileage examples that you'd pay a fortune for. I think that represents a really usable, lovely car. Talking of which, Peter Stevens' Esprit. How do you make Giugiaro's design better? Not an easy thing to do, but somehow Peter Stevens, lovely man, very nice man, and very talented designer, managed to take that car and make it, I think, even prettier. Now, the top of this market, we had a beautiful, really, really low mileage turbo in last time. I think we got the thick end of 70 grand for that car. You could buy this turbo for 20 to 24, and it's no less lovely. Paintwork's gorgeous, tyres are good, history is wonderful. Slightly high mileage, 61,000, which is nothing to worry about on a car that's been this well maintained. Trying to find you something, tiny, tiny bit of wear on the seat bolster there, exactly as you'd expect as you get in and out. But my word, she's worn beautifully. And aren't these a fabulous looking thing? Lotus Owners Club scene is really good fun as well. A lot of lovely people in there. Again, great spares backup, lots of events to go to. If you want to sort of buy yourself a group of friends, buy a Lotus Esprit and go to all the events. They're a good bunch. 58,000 miles, we've got service stamps up to that, we've got parts purchased, work undertaken, loads of MOTs, lots of stuff. Now you can always find a cost-effective old Esprit, you can always find a tidy Esprit. Very hard to find a cost-effective tidy Esprit, but we've managed to do it. To find a really nice S4 under 30 grand that's not hanging, doesn't need loads of work, difficult to do, really difficult to do. But there she is. So buy that with confidence. That's a really nicely presented car that doesn't really need much for you to enjoy it. This fabulous traction Avant, I'm not missing this. George and I will be doing a special pre-war, post-war heroes video that's just all the older stuff. I'm not talking about George, he is quite old, but the sort of stuff that George really likes and is very knowledgeable on. I will be picking his brains later. If you watch Savage Hunters Classic Cars, we did a car identical to this. Same colour, I would imagine probably registered at about the same time, because this is also on an L. I bet this went down the line a few cars away from ours. Same colour, same trim colour. She is the spit of the car that we did. But unlike us, you could buy this car and not lose tens of thousands of pounds. So we did our restoration on telly. I think it holds the TV record for the most amount of money lost on a TV restoration. It took us 5 years to do, and we lost a lot of money. But we did a nice job. This car has also a very similarly nice job. Beautiful colour. The paintwork is very, very good. I'm struggling to fault this car. A couple of tiny dimples, imperfections just on the wing there. Little wing dents I get your dent man to do. Interior is gorgeous. Period radio, Jensen handbook, photographic evidence of the respray, which has been done to a very good standard. They only made 5,620 of these. They're a rare old bus. And this one is good. All the things you need to be careful of, you don't on this one. This has got a very good set of bones on her. Interior is lovely, body's lovely. And to me, it's just the right kind of price. I think you'd buy that for sort of 30 to 34 grand, plus your fees on top, 15% fees on top, don't forget. When you think I put the thick end of 100 grand to buy, restore, and end up with a car that looks almost identical to this, and you could buy it for a third of that, I think that's a bargain. Drives lovely, that big thumping 440 big block, that is the way to travel. Now, anybody that likes James Bond, me, you can't not admire a Vanquish. This, I think, is Mr. Ian Callum at his finest. Another great British designer who's very much still with us and doing wonderful things. In fact, you can go to Cowland Design now and specify a Vanquish, and they will do a full rebuild for you, retrim, they'll put it in manual form if you want. And it's about £250,000 to do that. But you will end up with an incredible GT. But about, less than a fifth of that, you can buy an original Vanquish in James Bond spec and colour and drive around pretending you are Pierce Brosnan. And I wouldn't really fault you if you did. 80,000 miles on the clock, a fresh MOT, the best colour, and just monster history. I know, let me have a look at this. So it's got, where is it? 20 stamps in the book, 9 of which are Aston Martin and Aston Martin dealers, and the other 11 are Aston Martin specialists. So 80,000 miles is a higher mileage for a collectible car, but all that shows me is someone that's been doing exactly what you want, driving this car, using it, and having it regularly maintained. There is a wonderful thing about buying low mileage collectors' cars, but the one thing I tell you about those cars, they've never been driven, they've never been used, and that actually brings up their own set of problems. The great thing about a sensible mileage car like this, with monster history, is you know that car's been run up to temperature, fluids have gone round. It's very, very good news. And as I say, for a fraction of the price that our friends at Cowland will charge you for a new bespoke Vanquish, you can get the OG. And my word, what a thing. Now this is a bit special. We seem to get all of these, and I don't know how the team quite manages it. So Porsche, for their 70th birthday, commissioned their dealers and themselves, their own service department, to restore literally all of their greatest models. If you can imagine Porsche's greatest hits, dealers were each assigned a duty to buy the best one they could and then do a money no object restoration. And the result of that was the Porsche 70th collection. This is one of them. This is a lovely 2001 Boxster. It's a 3.2S. As you can imagine, each of the restorations was built into the finest example they could. So of course they went for a 3.2. And then the crazy thing is, they went through nut and bolt. So you cannot buy a new 2001 Porsche Boxster. This is the very next best thing. This is Porsche themselves through their dealer network. And each one gets a build sheet. You get a parts manifest of all the parts they did. This paint is liquid silver. It's so expensive to paint. You can see it's like glass. So it's Porsche showing off, basically. Porsche showing off their best cars restored. All of the cars have this incredible, beautiful Zagna wool insert seat. You can see everything's been retrimmed. It is better than new. They never made them this good when they were new, and they certainly never painted them to this standard. This is show quality paint. Now, were you to do this, and certainly we know that Porsche were spending 50, 60, 70k on each of these cars. In some cases, like the Porsche 944 S2 that we sold, that car was over £300,000 to build. So when you're buying these 70th anniversary cars, you are buying them at a fraction of what's in the book. This one is only going to cost you £20,000 or £22,000 plus your fees for a manual, effectively Porsche restored Boxster. Once in a lifetime opportunity. They don't come up very often. And look at it. You could not get that done for less than 50 or 60 grand. You could buy it for 20 or 22 with the provenance. It's an ex-Porsche car. One to put in your Porsche collection. Utterly stunning. And as I say, all of these 70th cars have the build sheet and the parts manifest. It's quite some reading, let me tell you. In fact, there's 4 pages of description. Take your time if you're interested in that. Pull the list, look at what's been done. It will blow your mind. Come with me on a journey to what Enzo Ferrari said was the most beautiful car in the world. And he would know the Jaguar E-Type, 1970 this one. So you really are getting into, I think, the stride of the E-Type. Aren't they stunning? Aren't they absolutely beautiful? I was fortunate enough to be at Goodwood Revival on Sunday, where of course many of these were racing and parked in the car park. And it is one of those classics that just works anywhere. Any car that looks good at Revival and has this kind of competition provenance is stunning. And what's nice about this, not being a Series 1, you are going to get this at sensible money, because Series 1 cars now are still, although they're softening a little bit, are still a lot of money. The later cars, I think, are just as pretty, but half the price. 97,000 miles on this one. Manual car, UK supplied, right-hand drive in a lovely original colour, which really suits it. Stainless steel exhaust, loads of history, a completely advisory-free MOT as well. Lots of lovely little touches. Like if you look through in the back, there's that great little chest in the back. But I just love the 2-seat fixed head coupe. It's just a lovely, it's a better drive. The Roadsters are obviously the pretty ones, but I actually prefer the coupe because you've got, effectively, a side lift hatchback, a decent sized boot. You can tour with these. You can put really decent sized suitcases and waft off to the south of France with your better half. And with that 4.2, you'll get there in a pretty decent time. Again, V5C, old MOTs, loads of invoices, handbooks and heritage certificates. Just everything you want other than a big bill to buy it. Like I say, 40 to 45, which if you're into E-types and you're looking at stuff for sale, you know, is not a huge amount of money. Paint is great. Really, really nice paint on this. Looks like it's been on a while as well. Can't really find, there's a chip there that's been done in. Nothing, absolutely nothing. Buy it, clean it, insure it, fuel it, and enjoy it. That's what you want to do with that one. Right, moving on to one of my favourite Fords, Coke Bottle Cortina. Look at this. My dad had a Coke Bottle Cortina. He was not in GXL territory. He had an L. We could only dream of a GXL. Look at this. Isn't it fabulous? If you were a very successful executive in 1972, so don't forget this car is 51 years old, or 52 years old. Crikey, Riley. I mean, I am 51 years old this year. This looks a lot better than I do. Jesus, this is wearing a hell of a lot better than I am. Quite depressing, really. Look at that. Isn't it fabulous? Somebody has loved this. First of all, Coke Bottle Cortina. Don't know what you think. To me, the best shape. Mark 1's gorgeous. Mark 2, love it. Very kind of clean, perpendicular lines. Mark 3, they went very sexy. Basically, all of the American muscle car influence on the back arches in a car that your dad could buy. 49,000 miles on this one, manual car, full restoration and interior retrim, and that is magnificent, whoever's done that. Please, come and look at this, Fraser. Look at this, look. Look at the quality of this trim. That would not have been that good when it was new. 72 examples left on the UK roads. The engine bay is as nice as the rest of it. Now, the interior is a work of art. They would not have looked that good when they were new, those seats. This is the range topper. This is really what your dad aspired to. The 2-litre engine, the beautiful seats, the vinyl roof. The engine work was carried out in April, May 2024 by Quasar Engineering. Massive history file, goes all the way back to 1997. I mean, there aren't many of these to choose from anyway. If you would like one, may I suggest that you come and look at this one because it's just lovely. Very, very few imperfections on this at all. Paintwork's very good. I'm trying to find you something. There's a tiny little scratch that will buff. There's a little, no, that's just a hair. It's as close to perfect as I think you're going to get, really. Not a lot to do. Vinyl roof's been done beautifully. I don't know who's done that either, but they have done a stunning job. Seam placement is absolutely spot on. Dashboard, just everything about it, just a lot of car. The Mark IIIs, the Coke bottles, are starting to fetch good money now because I think everybody appreciates they are rare. They're also very pretty. And this one being a range topper with all the right bits, you are going to spend about 15 to 17. But if you're shopping for a Mark III, you know that already. You know that the nice ones aren't cheap. Very usable car. I say it's what I used to go to school in as a youth on the back seat. But as I say, we were an L family, not a GXL. We couldn't quite afford these heady heights. So maybe you can. Maybe you can do what I couldn't do as a youngster. Right, 1982 Triumph TR7 convertible. On the subject of designers, Harris Mann. What a genius. I love Harris Mann stuff. This was kind of misunderstood and underappreciated in its time, the TR7, namely because the TR6 was so obviously pretty. Not everybody got the whole wedge-shaped styling of the TR7, but so right for its time. If you look what everyone else was doing, what Lotus were doing, Pininfarina, Bertoni, everyone was going for the wedge. So he really nailed it, and he nailed it in a front-engine car, which is not easy to do. Clever bit of design, and I think now they're starting to come into their own, particularly with the pop-ups, which have become extraordinarily cool. This is lovely. 71,000 miles, manual, just nice, clean, presentable car. A couple of bits of micro blistering on the back, but this is going to be a very price rangey car, £6,500 to £7,500. The interior is nice, tidy, original. Not concours, but just super usable, drivable, lovely, presentable car, this. Let me tell you a little bit more. Nice history with old MOTs, a current MOT till this month. It is exempt, so it has got MOT on it, which again is always nice that people MOT an exempt car. So you might want to put that through for your own peace of mind. In the early 2000s, it had a full restoration with loads of receipts, and we have all that as well. Cavity wax is used everywhere because it is very nice with no rust showing. So a lovely older restorations, aging beautifully. And we might have a few sunny days left, you never know. You might get a little bit of mileage with the roof down. I just think they're fabulous. I would just do a bit of a mop and a polish on this and the car would look absolutely fabulous. Do love those. Always wanted one of those since I was a kid. The staple of the classic car world, that is the MG B Roadster, possibly the most faultless classic in terms of ownership and how much fun you can have with it, and the fact that even if you're really tall, you can fit into it, and you can run them for buttons, service them for buttons, insure them for buttons. Everything about this car, if you're new to the classic car hobby and you're thinking, what can I buy? There's not going to be a lot of money, 9 to 11 grand. It's going to be fun to drive, nice to look at. Everyone will wave at me and let me out of junctions. And as soon as I come to get rid of it, everybody will want to buy it. The answer is this, the MG B Roadster, just the answer to every classic car question, really. Fabulous things. This is 1974. So it's either had a bumper conversion, I would say, or it's the last of the chrome bumpers. Let's read on and find out, shall we? Lovely original condition, starts on the button. Operational hood with hood cover, chrome wires, Dunlops, originally supplied to the USA, and the left to right hand conversion. So that's good. So if it's a USA car and it's been bought over, they wouldn't have bought a rusty car over. So I'd imagine it's probably from a dry state, which is why the body shell is so nice. And it's been dry stored by the vendor. What I like about this is, looking at it, this has been built into a US shell. Look at the shut lines on everything. Look at the boot shuts. Look at the door shuts, which you always have to watch on a MGB. They really are quite decent, which suggests to me that actually these are probably original panels. And it has resided in the Isle of Man from 1984 to 2020. So I think it's had quite an easy life. 22,000 miles on this. Yeah, originally supplied to the USA before being brought to the Isle of Man, which was converted to right-hand drive, restored and retrimmed. Restorations are very high quality, and the paintwork is superb. It's an older resto, my favourite thing in the world. Super level original car that's just really honest. The thing about MGBs, there's always some for sale. They've had fresh restorations, and I always wonder what lies underneath. So give me a car like this, it's been converted ages ago. And don't worry about that left to right-hand drive conversion. The car was designed to take both sides easily. It's a very well-trodden path. So don't worry about that at all. This amazing bean, we'll talk about that on another video. Cost effective 997s. Take your pick, we've got 3 beauties here and another one in our second video coming up as well. What would you like? What colour would you like? We're almost at that point now. I've said it before, it's worth repeating. 997 to me, ultimate affordable 911, because what's called easy to live with, relatively cheap to service and run in the grand scheme of things. But what you've got is the perfect size. It's the last little 911 before the 991 comes along, which is much bigger, physically larger on the road. And I think kind of this is as big as a 911 should be for me. And they are at that sweet spot where they're just enough that, you know, the nice cars still come out, but they're cheap enough, relatively speaking, that they're not going to bust the bank for you to run around in something that looks like a £100,000 car. This is gorgeous, and look, very rare option. Targa roof, very desirable. 2006 997 Targa 4. This one, Tiptronic. This is an unusual spec. Probably for everyday driving, you could not get better than this. The Tiptronic is very traffic friendly, very everyday modern life friendly. Or if you have an automatic only license, it's what you want. 65,000 miles, lovely appearance, drives really well. The paintwork is very good. Tiny bit swirly on the bonnet, but that's nothing that your valeter can't get out. Let me tell you, 2007 registration, nice service history with 6 service stamps on this one. 2 Porsche main dealer, 2 Porsche Hartec. They are the guys. They're really good. Grant there is a bit of a legend. In fact, all of the specialists send their engines to Hartec to get them restored and rebuilt. So the fact that Hartec's been looking after this, that's a very, very good sign. And loads of invoices from all of the big names in Porsche. It's got the upgraded IMS shaft, many other items, over 8 grand's worth of work. Great car, mad spec, perfect colour, all the bills you want to see, and all the things that you scare of on a 997. All done for you there. What would you pay for that? And believe me, the Targa is such a good option to have. 22 to 25. I would like to have that as my cruising 997. I like that very much. Meanwhile, over here, maybe you would prefer a manual. A lot to be said for having a manual Porsche. Always very, very saleable. This one's very nice. 997, 70,000 miles on this, an MOT till May 2025. And this is a Carrera 2S manual, so probably in terms of what the purist wants, the dream spec. Really good colour. I'm going to point out here, you might be able to see it. It's had bumper paint, so front and rear bumper have been painted. They're probably like half a shade out. So if you're buying remotely, please bear that in mind. I think if you're an absolute purist, if you're fastidious and you like things to be absolutely perfect, then just bear that in mind. But it's only going to be 18 to 20,000 pounds, which for a manual Carrera 2S, the purest choice, is very cost effective. It's got the forged turbo wheels. They're very, very expensive option. It's got the Porsche Sports exhaust. It's got the Bose sound system. It's got the navigation module for PCM. It's got the heated seats. So it is a killer spec, this car. And it presents so well. Yeah, I cannot tell you how nice those wheels are in terms of how the car drives. They're much lighter than the standard wheel. And 9 dealer and specialist service stamps. So for a car that you could buy potentially for under 20 grand plus fees, and you've got everything we look for in a 911, manual gearbox, audio upgrade, really lovely spec on that. And you can use it every day. If you're thinking, can I buy a classic Porsche and drive it every day? Yes, you can. Love that. As I say, you could buy that for 20 grand plus fees. Now this is getting almost to perfection. Let's see what we've got on here. So we've got another manual car, lobster claws, my favourite wheel. The forged wheels are the ones that drive the best. The lobster claws, to me anyway, we all have our preferences. Lobster claws are the prettiest 997 wheel. This was at a Porsche dealer on display. It's done 37,700 miles. It's just had a fresh MOT. I think they're all good, but I think of the 3, this is my favourite. If I was going to buy one, if it was my money, this is it. German national racing colour, black interior, perfectly spec. Service history is very nice. Got 7 services, 3 Blakeford services, 1 long life service, loads of invoices, loads of receipts, loads of Porsche receipts as well. P0s on it, just the whole thing, everything, the paintwork, the condition of it, how well the trim sits, tyre choice. We've still got hairs on the tyres, look. It's just nice. It just screams of a car that's been looked after to me. Really like that very much. Lovely mileage as well. One to keep, treasure and enjoy. Can't see you losing any money on that if you look after it. Potential appreciator, I think, being a silver manual with the right bits on. And just what a pretty car. What a pretty car for 22 grand plus fees. Talking of pretty cars. So here's one way of spending about the same money. You could buy that for probably 22 grand, or you could buy this lovely TVR for 22 grand. Very different recipe. Engine at the back, flat 6, German engineering, build quality, integrity. Dare one say, and I can say this as an owner of one, sterile and perfect. If you want character, if you want foibles, but just the best noise, and I think one of the most handsome cars ever made. So I have one of these. I have a Cerbera 4.5 Red Rose. This is a 4.2. What a thing. What an engine as well, this is. So the 4.2, I mean, you can't believe that TVR did this. TVR decided that although they were fitting a lot of Rover engines and had really perfected the art of doing that, they wanted to build their own engine and did a 4.2 and a 4.5, what they call the AJP engines, flat plane crank. Unbelievable thing. They make the best noise in the world. Well, actually, when they're cold and they start up, they sound broken. And as soon as the tolerances come together, it sounds like a bike engine. It sounds like a 4.2 litre bike engine. Also, look at the interior on this. The Cerbera interior to me looks like a concept car made real. Incredible thing. This is Peter Wheeler at the height of his powers, doing what TVR did best, making characterful cars and basically bringing show cars to life. They had an amazing business model. I've read the book, The Peter Wheeler Era, and the way that they were keeping afloat basically was to make incredible looking show cars, taking the deposits from those show cars and then using that to pay the wages and light the lights. But then obviously what they were brilliant at doing, better than any other manufacturer, is delivering on that show car promise. Come and look at the interior here. Look at the dashboard. It looks like something off a film prop, like a sci-fi film prop. It's like if aliens came down and did car design, that's what you'd get. So this is lovely. 48,000 miles, just great. Recently serviced, TVR registration number comes with it. It's got the spiders on, which is the best wheel for that car as well. Small collection of invoices, lots of money's been spent because it's a TVR. And it's driven here. If you've not heard this AJP, just insane, insane sounding engine. Love the colour as well. So you can buy the Porsche for 22 grand. You can buy the TVR for 22 grand. If you're feeling flush, buy both. Obviously, this is not Porsche build quality, but that's not why you buy it. You buy it just because it looks like nothing else, sounds like nothing else. And they are almost supercar quick, the 4.2. The 4.5 is silly. The 4.2 is sort of knocking on Ferrari, Lamborghini pace. Very, very quick car. And it looks like that. And again, going back to scenes, if you want to buy yourself into a scene, I've been on a few TVR Car Club events. What a nice bunch of people. If you just want to have every weekend something to do with a good bunch of people, buy yourself a TVR. Again, all the bits on the shelf for MotorClan, everything you need comes tomorrow. Stack of great specialists look after it. You'll have an awful lot of fun. And if you're so inclined, we'll go very, very sideways. So this is our little TVR enclave here. So come and have a look at this beautiful Taimar. Come around the front. So we've got a TVR for every pocket and a TVR for every era. I think these are so pretty. And if you've been looking at TVR prices, looking at what the turbo Taimars go for, which is an inordinate amount of money, you will know what a bargain these, the normally aspirated cars, are. This is lovely, 77. Not many of these left now, particularly in this condition, and it's a lovely original car. Great opportunity, just needs a recommission basically. It's been part of a deceased estate from a very talented engineer, so it was looked after, but it just needs a little bit of going through. So normal stuff, service, brake recommission, all that kind of stuff. 42,000 miles, appears to be complete. And as I say, I actually went and found this car. This was Fuzz, our very good friend Fuzz Townsend, kindly put us onto the family that owned this. And I went and had the privilege of going to look at this in its situation. And what a collection it came from, and what a lovely man that used to own it, and a very talented engineer. So by that, the turbos, have a look, it could be 25, 26, 27,000 pounds. This being a normally aspirated car, you could buy this from us for 6, 7 grand maybe, plus your fees. What a bargain. Funny enough, I was with Total Head Turners at Goodwood actually, and what they're saying is these early TVRs are just fetching huge money. The interest is in this stuff. The pre-Peter Wheeler stuff is going ballistic at the moment. People are realising it's a real part of British car heritage and history, and for that reason, everyone's getting quite excited about owning them. I like that very much. Very pretty, perfect colour combination. As I say, 6 or 7 grand. You can take that home. Now we talk about TVRs and their bonkers design. The Cerbera is almost conservative when you compare it to this. This is 2003 Tuscan. What were they drinking or smoking at this point? I do not know, but I'm so glad these cars exist. There is nothing like them. There's not a manufacturer in the world that was doing this. It's truly bonkers stuff. So it's done 25,000 miles, loads of history, fresh MOT. That private plate, that Tuscan plate comes with it as well. I really like the colour. I don't normally like gold cars, but it's a really nice bright shade with a lot of silver in it, and it really works. Service history on the Tuscan is super impressive. Loads of invoices, host of old MOTs. It's got an MOT carried out in March by X-Works in Lancashire, and they did a few other bits and bobs, about 700 quid spent there. Original instruction book, the original CD. Car's well known in the owners club as well. And I say, if you buy any of these TVRs, do join the TVR car club. Smashing folks, absolutely smashing folks. They'll make you very welcome. I've been on a few runs with them. Top people, top events. And also just being in a car club, they'll help you to get any of the bits you need and also point out any of the things you need to know. If you're wondering how to get into a TVR, by the way, if you're coming to look, under the mirror. That's the handle, just there. There you go. That gets you in. Right, I like that very much. That is going to be £19,000 to £21,000. Can you think of a car that looks this good, that has this kind of presence, this kind of performance? Because all of these TVRs, because they weigh about as much as a fag packet, that you can buy for this kind of money? Because don't forget, the window on this comes down as well, and then you've got that amazing drop-out back window. Ridiculous looking car for 20 odd grand. So we're going from the sublime to the ridiculous. Very impressive. And again, if you haven't looked at the dashboard, we keep talking about these aliens coming down and designing interiors. It happened there as well, look. But they were so clever because they made all these bespoke parts, all these beautiful turn pieces and aluminium bits that made a relatively inexpensive car look and feel very premium. Clever, the old TVR people. 1958 Austin-Healey Sprite. Is this the cutest thing in the sales room? I think it probably is, you know. Aren't they great? What I love about these is, because obviously this sort of started the whole midget line, as it were, but it's the door line. If you've never looked, what I love about these is you get this unbroken line that runs around. There's a fantastic piece of design, and they even trimmed it on these as well. And that lovely flat deck on the back. And they're such a handsome little car. 8 to 10 grand you'd buy this for. Attractive colour and trim combination, all steel body with a bonnet. It comes with weather gear and tonneau and an unleaded head, so you can run it on modern petrol as well. And it doesn't need anything, this. It just needs you to buy it and sit in it if you're a little bit shorter than me. And what I love so much about the old frog-eyed Sprite is it's just the purities, all the bits you want of a little British sports car. Probably one of the cutest things. Everyone will wave at you. Kids love them as well. And then you've got those great upgrades. There's a bit of work carried out over the years. In 2023, had about over 1,200 quid worth of engine work done. So just want to jump in, MOT exempt, tax exempt, everything exempt. Just drive and enjoy and have some fun for not crazy money. So meanwhile, coming over here, 1959 Austin-Healey 3000 Mark 1, the hairy-chested Healey, the star of rally stage. Have a look at this. 24 to 26,000 pound to buy this, 51,000 miles, a right-hand drive home market car from new, this one, on wires, which looks lovely. Heritage certificate with the matching engines and his chassis numbers. It's got the overdrive fitted, it's got the heater, which believe me was big things back in 1959. And it's a 4-seater as well, so you can take the dog and very small children, and it's had a load of money spent on it. So the 2+2 is actually really quite useful. People don't realise that if you're buying a Healey that you can get this configuration. And it does just open it up. If you have got dogs or kids, only 5 recorded keepers in the 65 years and just lots of paper. So what would you spend? I say 24 to 26 to buy that. Really nice, cost-effective Healey. Obviously for that kind of money, you're not buying a concours car. But what it is beautifully presentable, very tidy. And if you want to, I think you could definitely polish some value into that paint. Make it even prettier if you want to. I like that very much. Very honest car, presents beautifully, that does. Also, by looking through this, my word, there is a lot of jobs. I haven't really got the time to go through them all, but I'll just give you a quick edited highlight. Servo alternator, starter, clean the fuel tank, recondition the overdrive, recondition the gearbox. Yeah, take your time. If you're even half interested in this, pull the file and look at the description we've got online. There are 2 pages of the work that's been done on this car. It is a long, long list, and much money has been spent with all the right people. I think that's going to be a very good news car, that one. Yeah, that is a long listing. Moving on to this, you can see the interest in it already. This is the KVA GT40 Evocation. Very interesting example, and this comes from the same collector that had that beautiful Taimar over there. Why I like this one very much, KVA is a very interesting car. So it is a kit car, it is a replica, but not your average. This is full space frame chassis on this one. It's also we've got the engine cover, have a look in the back. A proper engine, because some of these were built with V6s, but not this one. This gentleman's checking it out, he's very excited, look. You carry on, sir, you carry on. There you go, exactly what you want to see when you open up a GT40 replica. The correct number of cylinders in the right place. And I say the full space frame chassis. There were a few of these. This was the later one, the later KVA, and they spent a lot more money and they're a lot more authentic. Obviously, it's not quite a full GT40 exact replica. It's not a tool room replica or continuation, but it definitely does the 5-yard test, this one. Again, owned by the same engineer that had the Taimar, and he has really spent some money. A stack of paperwork, including original build manual, everything. You can see the sophistication of the chassis. So you've got turnbuckle back ends on this. So you've got everything that the original race cars did have. So if you know anything about chassis setup or you want to book yourself into a race place, you can get these things to really handle. What's great about this is not going to be expensive. What we would say, and we've put this in the description, so please check this for yourself, as was common with a lot of component and kit cars in the day, it's been registered as a contemporary Ford. Now, you might just want to check for yourself if you are buying this, particularly if you're buying it from afar. If it's an export, I don't think you'll have a problem. If you're keeping it in the UK, everyone used to get a contemporary age-related car and register as that. If you want to be absolutely squeaky clean, you might want to take it down the IVA route. It is registered, it is insurable, it has been both insured and on the road for a long, long time. But make sure you're aware of that situation. That's one of the reasons it's probably about £10,000 less than it would be if it was IVA'd. So great car, potential bargain to be had. And if you want to do a little bit of work in recommissioning, you'll get that back on the road very quickly. But everything from the tyre choice, wheel choice, engine choice, it's a great replica. 15 to 20 grand. Do have a look at what the top of that market is. And it's worth going through. You see it's got that 68 registration on. So do take your time, please. Have a look at the paperwork. Look at how it's registered. Make sure you're happy before you bid. It's not a problem, but it's good that you know before you buy. Moving on to a rather nice Bentley, which is here. So that lovely one in the corner, we should come back to that later. 2007 Bentley Continental GTC. We've got a lovely Bentley in video too for you to look at as well. And we are all saying we cannot believe how well these cars are aging. So this car is nearly 20 years old, 17 years old, this car. Looks like it's a couple of years old, isn't it? This one's lovely. 18 to 20,000 pounds if you've got that in your bank account. If not, go and see our friends at Fast and Funded. 56,000 miles, just lovely. Fresh MOT, lovely colour combination, and have a look at this leather in here. You would feel very special when you set yourself in there. And that's the thing about Bentleys, what you really can't appreciate is, until you've sat in one, the sense of occasion that you get. You do feel very special when you drive a Bentley at any price. You just feel like you made it. They're very beautifully put together and they waft effortlessly. They really do. Let me give you some highlights. 17 stamps in the service book, 12 of which are Bentley main dealers, the other 5 are Bentley specialists. And the last service was carried out in April 2024. And it's only done 1,000 miles since then. You see how many people are coming in to view the cars. It is very much to be encouraged. This is going out Wednesday night. If you would like to come and see any of these cars, as you can see, have a look around. All these lovely people are doing just that. Come and have a look. Nothing helps you to bid on sales day like when you've had a good look around the car, and we try and give you all the time in the world to do that because we're a permanent fixed venue. We're not a travelling circus. The cars are here for weeks and weeks before the sale. So you come and have a look because the more you know, the higher you bid. That's what we know. One of my favourite cars ever. So I have a Bentley Arnage, which is great, but if you want to go one up from that, you go for the Silver Seraph, which of course has 12 cylinders, rather than the rather boisterous 8, the Bentley. This is top of the tree, isn't it, really? We do have an Arnage coming up in a minute as well. So this is a 1999 Rolls-Royce Silver Seraph. Technically speaking, you should sit in the back if you own a car like this. But what is lovely, if you do choose to sit in the front and steer, come and have a look, Fraser. You're greeted with an opulent sea of leather and walnut. Also, just look at the quality of these cappings with the inlays. These cars were house money when they were new, but you could buy this, again, somewhere between 20 and 22. It just goes to show we are finding it's very busy at the moment because our vendors are being exceptionally realistic with their reserves and their estimates, which means I think we're going to sell a lot of cars on Saturday because everything is about where it needs to be. Can you believe that this car was 72,000 and a stunk? I mean, just look at that. Just listen to that. I'll put my microphone near it. It's like shutting a bank vault, that is. Isn't it gorgeous? Everything. If you ask the question, does it have? Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Been loved by its current owner, loads of handbooks, 12 stamps in the book. And 200-mile drive to get here as well. So it's working absolutely gorgeous. And it was 10 years in Brighton as a wedding car. So who knows, you might have got married in this. Maybe it's time that either you buy it for your wedding business, maybe you just buy it to waft about. Nice thing about these silver Seraphs is they just can be so many things. Hilarious daily, if you're so inclined. Of course, people do drive them every day when they were new. Great weekend, high days and holidays car, or you can make it work, whichever you prefer. That's lovely, and I say 12 cylinders. Going for a green label, slightly less cylinders, no less impressive, but certainly these are in bargain basement territory. Absolutely ridiculous what you can buy these for. So this is now you're into the marriage with the last of the proper Bentleys, the last of the crew-built Bentleys. Obviously, you've got BMW engines, but still a wonderful car. Probably more usable and easier to look after. 82,000 miles, auto, good service history, really nice paint and trim combination. It's kind of like this ruby metallic with tan, wood cappings. It's got, let me have a look. The first stamp in the book is for the Rolls-Royce press department. So it might have been a presser. That's interesting, isn't it? It's got an electric sunroof, which is not standard. It's got TV screens in the rear. Really cool thing. So I've got the Arnage T, which is the Lary one, the Mulliner one, with the 675. I actually really like these because, as I say, they're a little bit easier to live with, the green labels, a little bit less expensive to run. But just look at the presents you get. 10 to 12 grand, you can take that home. What a weapon that is. Fabulous looking car. I just think as well, the design language that they use for this has aged better than some of the stuff that they're knocking out now. I really like this sort of high roofline that you get at the back on these. Loads of legroom in the back. Just have a think. If you've got kids and you want a sort of family-friendly classic, take them out in that. I think you're amazing. 10 to 12 grand. Come and get it bought. Right, into the mini room. Come with me. Past this is going to be on a separate video with my good mate George. We'll be talking about that. We're doing a lot more sort of pre-war and early post-war stuff. So if you're into that, come and see us. And if you've got a car to consign that's like any of the stuff you've seen, we're very much into that. Right, 2008, JCW, John Cooper Works, the fast one. If you haven't driven one of these, you have missed out. They are hilarious. It's the only word to describe. Proper little go-kart. The original Mini was obviously known for a wheel in each corner, great handling. The new Mini, the reiteration of it, added power to that equation as well. So amazing handling, a lot of power, and of course quite a nice spec. 92,000 on this, 10 service stamps, a genuine JCW, and this is a no reserve car. Cars on the table, there's a few little bits to sort. You've got curved wheels, things that happen in real life. It's a nice, tidy, presentable car, this, and it's no reserve. Regularly maintained, stamped in the service book, been bought by our vendor since 2023. Replaced the throttle body, the Vanos solenoid, the timing chain, and the Vanos unit. So it's had a lot of money spent on all the things you want. It's got a few chips, little bits here and there to do, but have some fun with it. Would make an epic second car just to have some fun with, or maybe even do a bit of track prep. Outrate the brakes, outrate the suspension, and there's your Nürburgring track day tool. Absolutely fabulous. And like I say, could be a real bargain. That could be an absolute hoot in more ways than one. Also spinning around, don't forget we've got, look at this, a separate bike sale, little rally burners. We seem to have a plethora of rally burners, one of my favourite bikes as a kid being from Nottingham. MG Midget 1500, British Racing Green, good looking, professionally converted chrome bumpers. This, I guess, was originally hotline for this gentleman here. This would have been a rubber bumper car originally, being a 76, being converted really well and very nicely to the chrome bumpers, which does look so much prettier, doesn't it? 23,000 miles on this since the rebuild. Drives and presents beautifully. A full new body shell in 2016, which probably the cost of that body shell is what you'll buy the entire car for. Wire wheels, which looks lovely as well. So reshelled in 2016, so no rot, no rust. Bullet style wing mirrors, which is a really nice upgrade. And some paperwork, invoices back to the 80s are present, plus we've got an invoice from April 24 for service. So it's just had a little lick and a flick and she's ready to go. I actually really like the colour-coded sill on that, actually. I think that looks really good. They were normally black for that period, but that looks great. Adds a bit of visual depth to the car. You would buy that for 4.5 to 5.5 grand. Not a lot, because it would cost you more than that for a shell. Right, today's pop fact. Did you know the first car I ever bought with a friend was one of these? So when I was a 13-year-old kid, me and my mate Andy Kidger went halves on an Escort van, which we used to drive around his dad's field. And that was £50, that van. It was knackered, to be fair, but it was £50. Went £25 each, and we used to cycle down to the petrol station, fill it up with fuel, and drive it around the field till the fuel ran out. You could relive those days in a much, much nicer van. Ours was so rotten, we had to have a railway sleeper in the back to hold the leaf spring in. This one is much nicer. 58,000 miles. And we think as well, one owner from new, original invoice, and it looks very much like it's never been used commercially. Very clean. If you look inside, it's just typical van spec. Now, in those days, you used to buy the van basically in primer, and then the dealer would paint it for you. So we've got an invoice for that. I would say it has been repainted since subsequently. And it is exceptionally rust-free. I mean, what's mad is here we are in 2024, and the one that I bought when I was 13, bearing in mind I'm nearly 51 now, was not this nice then. So all the seams and gutters are very, very good. A couple of tiny, tiny bits to look at. Just the edge of the wing, tiny, tiny bit, just lifting on the rubber there. So I would just have the glass out, put new rubbers in, make it super nice, because the car is so nice, it justifies it. And what could you do with that? If you're a Ford collector, you need it. It's a great shell to do something fun with. You could sign write that for your business. So much you could do with it. So what can I tell you? The van cost £1,400 originally. It actually cost 60 quid to paint it back then. And if you look at the prices of these Ford Escort vans, because they are so rare, and of course, because so many of them led a very, very hard life, it's very hard to find one that hasn't been absolutely battered. And this one really hasn't. It's a tiny bit of bodywork to do to make it perfect. So just run it as it is and enjoy it. And drive around in the Giants Duracell, we'll call it. That will cost you, my friends, £17,000 to £19,000, because it is a very rare old Ford. And as we know, that comes with significant scene tax. Now this one, there is no scene tax for the HA Viva, which is interesting, because were this a Ford of this period, I think you'd be paying about 5 times what we're about to talk about. This car is very known to me. This is the HA Viva we did on Salvage Hunters. And in itself, it's an amazing story. So, story goes, a chap back in the 1960s was bought this by his mum for passing his test, kept it his entire life, and then a few years into ownership, basically incredibly tastefully modified it. So all of this stuff, the Dunlop wheels, the seats, the custom interior, the roll cage, the bespoke conies, was all done in period, all done in the late 60s, early 70s. But then the best bit is, he went to Bill Blydenstein, who did a full engine conversion, head conversion, custom exhaust, and it was Bill Blydenstein himself who did all the work. Believe it or not, this paint is original. All of this paint is original. Everything you see is as it was done in the 60s. It's a proper time warp. Drew and I had the privilege of doing it on the show. And it's had a couple of owners since then. It's one of those cars, it's the kind of thing that you buy, you put it in your collection, you take it to some shows, everybody oohs and ahs, and then you swap it for something else. And all of this patination is all part of the car's story. But you'll buy this car for somewhere between 9 and 11 grand. This is what I mean about scene tax. Imagine if that was a 1966 Ford Escort 2-door. You'd be paying 40 grand, wouldn't you? So I think it's an epic thing. It drives beautifully, as you can imagine, with the Blydenstein engine. We went through it front to back and spent a fortune on it, just on all the things you can't see, bushes, suspension, new bolts, all sorts of stuff. It drives mint. It really does. It's a lovely car. It's very dear to me, and I hope it finds a good home. So 9 to 11, that one. Hello there, sir. Got a good look round? Right, Fiat 500. We're going to this one next. As you can imagine, there are 5 pages of description on the HA Viva, because there's a lot to talk about. I will be here on Saturday. If you are interested as well, come and shout me. I'll tell you all the story on that one. Fiat 500F, left-hand drive cars, we've had this conversation already, are much cheaper to buy, and in some ways, I think better to live with. Think about why you're buying a Fiat 500, probably going to drive it in town most of the time. So which side of the car do you want to get out of in town? Left-hand side, near the curb. So I would buy that. It's going to be a lot cheaper than a right-hand drive. Had a lovely retrim, very rare, amazing colour, lovely Webasto-style roof. I think this represents an utter bargain. We've estimated this at 4.5 to 5.5, only because it's left-hand drive. Because the paintwork is spectacular. The engine looks very nice. The body shell is lovely. Tax exempt, of course, as well. So it was restored in Rome in 2020, then came over to the UK in the same year. And our collector, who's very kindly consigned this with us, he collects Volkswagens, actually. This is part of a Volkswagen collection, which you kind of see that a lot, actually. A lot of people that like Volkswagens with an air-cooled engine in the back also like Fiat 500s. That could be the bargain of the sale. And the colour, I don't know how it's coming across on the screen, the colour is fabulous, absolutely gorgeous colour. 4.5 to 5.5 grand, get that in your garage, and your garage doesn't need to be very big, does it? Riley Elf, a Mini with class, shall we say, a booted Mini, twice the boot of a Mini, twice the practicality, all of the above. More luxury, but probably about half the price of an external hinge slidey window Mini. That's the thing. If this was a 65 Mini, it would be a fortune. But because it's a Riley Elf, again, you don't pay the scene tax. This one has had an exceptional restoration, almost £8,000 spent on parts alone, never mind labour. And you will buy this car for somewhere between, crikey, 6.5, 7.5 grand, 84,000 miles. And I say the restoration is lovely. You're ready to go, ready to jump in and enjoy this one. Nice on top, beautiful underneath. Had the current owner since 2014. They've had it for 10 years. 5 former keepers, brand new Falcon tyres, and a stunning history file. You can go to all the Mini events with these, and you're very much welcomed and accepted as part of the Mini scene. The whole point of this is very clever, really. They were quite ahead of their time. The idea was to give you a small, usable city car with the aspirations of a bigger badge. They thought that the retired people that had Rileys, Wolseleys, things like that, would want to have all of that opulence in a 10 and a bit foot package. It kind of works, doesn't it? Fantastic little thing. 6.5 to 7.5. Or if you like your Minis with no roof at all, how about a Moke? There you go. 1965 UK right-hand drive, this one. 10 to 12 grand is the estimate on this. Now, we had one which had been monumentally restored that was well into the 20s not very long ago. So you could buy this one for half, and it isn't half the car because the condition is very, very nice. Stunning combination, loads of paperwork, really nice restoration on this, but still very, very usable. Heritage certificate, and this is the original colour. This is how she left the factory. If you've never had a Moke or been in a Moke, they're just hilarious, basically. And also when you take them, they make great paddock support vehicles for race events. If you go to somewhere like Goodwood, they're very much sort of part of the scenery there. I think you'd have a lot of fun taking it to revival. And they're just an absolute hoot. Probably not the last word in road safety, but who cares? It's got harnesses, it's got hand grabs, it's got an enormous heater as well, so you won't get cold. I like that very much. And for 10 to 12 grand, you can have it too. Rover Minis. Always good news, very saleable, very easy to look after, very usable actually. So a car that you can run every day in spring, summer and autumn. I tuck it away for winter to keep the salt off them, particularly when they're as nice as this, with seams as nice as this. This one is a 1995, 86,000 miles, driven here, loads of history, loads of books. Have a look inside. This is getting towards the end of the Mini's life. They have another 5 years left to go. But have a look inside. That's clean. Very nice looking car, lovely specification. All standard, not messed about with. Good MOT history, and just had a fresh MOT as well. Minis are always good news. I'm just having a look around to see if I can find anything for you. The trim has shrunk, which they all do. So this plastic trim, this plastic trim actually contracts. What's underneath is very, very good. Boot is good. All the edges are lovely look. The thing about the Mini pricing is quite crazy, the spread that you get. Whereas this one I think is going to be a bit of a bargain. As I say, 6.5 to 7.5, you could buy that and take that home, but it's eminently usable. That is very much a 3 seasons of the year car to have a lot of fun with. And again, going back to cars within the enormous social scene, that is very much one. So there you go, folks. That is the end of that video. Video number 1, there's going to be 2 and 3 of classic cars, a full bike video with Steve Berry. So please make sure you've liked and subscribed. Register to bid at manorparkclassics.com. And of course, come and see us on the day, online or in person. We go live from 10 o'clock for the auction and start about 15 minutes prior to that. And don't forget, a 2-day auction this time. Saturdays for classic cars, Sundays for classic bikes. I hope I see you there.